Bisola came to the town of Edewa one dry harmattan morning, carrying nothing but her beauty and an air of mystery. Her skin glowed like polished ebony under the sun, and her eyes held secrets that made men forget their own names. Everywhere she walked, people paused. She smiled at children, bowed to elders, and even the market women felt her presence like a warm breeze. Nobody knew where she came from, but by evening she had already sparked stories. Some whispered that she was Inyanu, a wonder sent from the gods. Others said she was trouble in human skin. But Bisola didn't care what they said. She only cared for the eyes that followed her, the heart that beat faster when she smiled. By the end of the week, strange things began happening in the town. Adekunle, a small-time trader, suddenly made deals he never thought possible. Sadiq, the local politician, won elections he had been losing for years. Kunle, the musician, had songs that everyone hummed before they even released them. And all of them had one thing in common. They had met Bisola. She touched their hand lightly, whispered sweet words in their ears, and promised, "Make your move, my people. I dey here to help." But old Mama Kudirat, watching from her doorway, shook her head. She knew that not every blessing comes free, and not every sweet thing is good for the soul. Adekunle couldn't get Bisola out of his mind. One evening, while counting his money by the river, he saw her walking towards him, barefoot on the sand, her hair flowing like night. "You distress too much, my brother," she said, smiling in a way that made him forget the worries in his chest. She promised him big money, power, and respect in the town, saying, "Now your time don't reach, make you shine small." Adekunle felt like the sky had opened just for him. Every word she spoke sank deep into his heart, and he began to trust her like a man trusts the morning sun to rise. Soon, Adekunle's life changed. Investors came knocking, money flowed into his hands, and he started dressing in clothes that looked like royalty. But the nights were restless. Bisola appeared in his dreams, sometimes laughing, sometimes silent, her eyes full of warning he couldn't read. When he tried to ask her what she wanted in return, she only shook her head and whispered, "Trust na the only thing I need, nothing more." Adekunle gave her all his trust, never suspecting that trust given to a woman like Bisola might be the start of chains he could never break. Word about Bisola spread fast like wildfire in dry grass. Sadiq, Kunle, and even Pastor Damilola found themselves pulled into her orbit. Sadiq wanted power to crush his rivals. Kunle wanted fame that would make him remembered for life. Even Pastor Damilola wanted miracles that would silence anyone who doubted him. Bisola listened, studied them, then whispered promises that made their hearts race. "I fit help you make am if you just dey bold," she said. And with each man, she shaped her words, feeding their desires, stoking their ambitions. But the town began to feel it. Dogs barked at nothing, elders complained about restless spirits, and the sacred silk cotton tree by the shrine shed leaves in strange patterns. People started fighting over petty things. Some men woke up with cuts and bruises on their bodies that they didn't remember getting. Yet everyone ignored the signs, dazzled by Bisola's blessings. The old one said, "When the harmattan blow dust too heavy, check where they come out from." But nobody wanted to look. Bisola's gifts were loud, and her demands whispered like shadows in the night. Mama Kudirat couldn't keep quiet any longer. She remembered women like Bisola from long ago, spirits walking in human skin to test the hearts of men. At dawn, she entered the spirit grove, leaning on her staff, calling names older than Edewa itself. The wind shook the trees and the leaves whispered back, "Na she no be normal woman. She dey between two worlds. Her food na desire, her home na crossroads." Mama Kudirat felt a chill, knowing the men of the town were walking straight into a trap they could never see. That night, Bisola looked into her mirror, and for a brief moment, her reflection shifted. It was not a woman staring back, but something older, something darker, crowned in fire that didn't burn. She had walked many worlds before Edewa and chosen her path carefully. She smiled faintly, knowing Mama Kudirat's prayers were scratching at her power. Bisola didn't like to be remembered for what she truly was. The storm had only begun, and the town was about to feel its first tremors. Adekunle began to feel the weight of what he had accepted. Sleep no longer came easily, dreams full of running, falling, and Bisola's silent eyes. One evening, she told him to stand at a lonely junction at midnight and call her name thrice. Fear bit him, but his desire to succeed was stronger. He obeyed. Meanwhile, the other men were already paying invisible prices. Sadik's political victories left families broken. Kole's fame brought envy and betrayal. Pastor Damilola's miracles ended with strange deaths. The townspeople noticed their leaders and stars were no longer joyful, only busy chasing what they couldn't see. Every gift had a cost, and now that cost was catching up. Adekunle wanted to pull back, but Bisola reminded him of everything he had gained. "Nothing they come free," she whispered, her eyes glinting. The men began to realize they had been dancing with fire without knowing, and the town itself seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for the consequences that were fast approaching. One stormy night, Mama Kudirat confronted Bisola at the junction where three roads met, the crossroads that held the power of choice. The men followed, trembling. Bisola stood tall, no longer hiding behind her charm. Her voice echoed through the wind. "You all want power without paying the price? I just show you the wahala inside your hearts." The air felt heavy, thick with energy, and strange lights danced around her, casting shadows too tall and too fast to be natural. The ground trembled as spirits rose from the earth. Bisola's form flickered, woman, fire, shadow, all in one. The men fell to their knees, realizing too late that shortcuts in life have heavy penalties. Mama Kudirat raised her staff, chanting names of ancestors, calling truth, calling justice. The night screamed in response. This battle was not fought with swords, but with wills and the courage to reject temptation. Every heartbeat carried the weight of their choices. Bisola unleashed visions, mountains of money, lovers waiting, enemies crushed under her command. Some men reached out, still greedy. Others turned away, crying out, realizing their mistake. Adekunle stood at the edge, trembling between what he had and what he had lost. Mama Kudirat shouted, "Choose now, now your life you dey decide." Adekunle took a step forward and rejected her gift, breaking the chains that had slowly wrapped around his soul. One by one, the others followed, confessing, renouncing, letting go. The crossroads blazed with light as Bisola's fury shook the air. Her power weakened, and for a moment she looked like a human woman again, tired, frustrated, and defeated. Fire met earth, wind met spirit, and the storm ended. Dawn broke slowly, revealing scorched earth, broken men, and a town that would never forget the night when desire collided with wisdom. With her strength fading, Bisola tried one last time to lure the men. "I fit still give you everything you did chase," she said, voice softer, almost human. But the town had seen enough. Mama Kudirat sealed the crossroads with old words that bound Bisola. Spirits came to claim her, dragging her back into the world she came from, neither cruel nor violent, but firm. She looked at Adekunle once more, her eyes full of fire and sorrow. Then she vanished, swallowed by the wind and the dust. The men collapsed exhausted, realizing they had survived something far greater than greed. They looked at each other, understanding that real power comes with patience, not shortcuts. The town, still recovering from the storm, began to heal slowly. Life returned, but no one forgot. Bisola's presence left marks on hearts, a warning for anyone who might meet temptation in human skin. Life after Bisola was quiet but uneasy. Successes that came too easily disappeared. Wealth melted away, fame faded, but there was peace now, honest sleep, laughter that felt clean. The men who survived started to rebuild slowly, learning lessons that would never leave them. Elders sat by the fire, telling the children stories of a woman who walked between world and the price of desire. They said, if person they offer you shortcut, ask first, check the hand where they give 'em. Adekunle told the story many times, warning young men not to chase quick wealth or beauty blindly. The town slowly returned to peace, but the memory of fire, chains, and temptation lingered. Bisola became a legend, not just a woman, but a test of hearts. The tale reminded every generation that the price of ambition is not always in money, but in the soul. The story walked through villages, across rivers, and in